what's up? Hello, I hope you all are doing well. I was recently tagged by Bex to do the leap year book tag, and as today is the day of the leap year, it doesn't seem like there's much of a better time. This is an 8-question tag created by Amy Myers of Nonfiction Feminist and Hillary of Melted Books, and with that said, let's get started. So question number 1, an extra day. What's a book that brought something a little extra? For this question, I chose Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. Bex gave this to me for Christmas a couple years ago now, and I absolutely enjoyed this so much. I know that this series has gotten a lot of buzz around BookTube. It's a middle grade series, and it is just magical and fascinating and so charming, and it was a little bit extra because I wasn't sure what to think of it going in. It had been a long time, probably since Harry Potter or Percy Jackson, I guess, that I had read a middle grade series that I was keenly interested in, and I mean, I liked this more than I liked Percy Jackson. See my review of those. But this just had this charm and sass to it that I wasn't anticipating, and it was definitely brought something extra to a plot that I already was interested in, and just sort of turned the dial on my enjoyment a little bit. That being said, I am eagerly awaiting the third book now, which isn't coming out in the United States for a very long time, like the summer, and it's not great. I can't wait that long. Anticipation is too high. Question number 2 is taking a big leap. What book are you or were you afraid to read? For this, I chose An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. And I picked this because it had been very hyped. Obviously, as a fan of the Vlogbrothers, I'd been hearing about it for a while. I knew that Hank really wanted to write a novel, and finally did, and so there was that sort of like anticipation in so far as, oh, this person really wanted to do a thing and now they have finally done it, and sort of a sympathetic nervousness and anxiety for just wanting it to be good for Hank Green. But also I didn't want to hate it. I really didn't want to hate it, and I wasn't sure if I was going to because it had such high expectations from a variety of people. It was a sci-fi book, and I knew in some way it was going to be infused with some opinion or like personal experience wrapped up in fiction, which is fine, but sometimes executing that gets a little difficult, and so I was so afraid to read this because I didn't want to hate it. And I didn't. I actually really enjoyed it. Again, you can watch my review. And I thought it was really good. I will be reading the next one when it comes out, I think sometime later this year. I need to double check on the date, but there is another one. Question number 3 is every 4 years. What is the 4th book that you read this year? This is an interesting question because there was a period at the beginning of the year where I was looking very hard for a romance novel to read with my book club. That had a lot of very specific criteria, and so I went through like a romance novel rush of reading that I just was new to me. I hadn't spent that much time in the genre before, and I think I wound up reading like 6 of them in a month, so therefore the 4th book of the year for me was The Bride Test by Helen Hoang. This was just really cute. I appreciated how it sort of followed on the back of the book she had written previously, The Kiss Quotient. They're not necessarily a series in the sense that they follow the exact same people for every book, but folks from previous books do make appearances in the next couple, and this focused on different characters. It was just, they're very enjoyable. She's got such a clear-cut way of writing an autistic character in a realistic and sensible way, which obviously is due to the fact that that's a lived experience for her. And some of the other parts of an experience that she was trying to convey in the main character, I think, got a little bit lost in a way that they obviously didn't with American-born characters in the first novel. Not the first novel, but the novel prior. But regardless, this is very cute. I'd be keen to read the 3rd one. I think there is a 3rd one, and/or it's coming out very soon. Question 4 is 366 days in a year. On your 3rd shelf, name the 6th book on that shelf, and then the 6th one after that. I do have 3 shelves here. They're not all in sequence in a row, so it's hard to know which one is the 3rd. The first one is all fiction, and some of it I've read and some of it I've not read, so that's the first shelf. The second one is nonfiction, the majority of which I've not read, and then the 3rd one is like a smattering of things. It's a lot of reference material, textbooks, notebooks, pieces of stuff from grad school, and then a small collection of fiction books that I haven't read, and just a whole bunch of stuff is on that shelf. So that was the third shelf I had to pick from. But the sixth book on that shelf was I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. And I read this book years ago after hearing Katie from Chapter Stacks talk about it. I will always use her phrase to describe it, which is quietly beautiful. If you are looking for sort of a far away coming of age story set in the English countryside, it's lovely. The main character is a writer, or at least writes in her diary. I should actually probably really read this again. I think there is also a film, and it's pretty good. I remember watching it just after I finished this to sort of see if it was similar. And it wasn't too bad. I should really read this again. I'm glad that this came up. Obviously, it's important to me because I carry it around from place to place. So I have it here with me. The sixth book after that was Sally Rooney's Normal People, a book that I have been meaning to read since before it came out because I heard about this book on NPR and knew that I wanted to read it. I've not read any of Sally Rooney's prior work, but I did hear about this book. I wanted to read it. I got it from the library. I've actually checked it out at the library twice and never made time in those 2 periods of time having it to read it. So finally at the library book sale, I bought myself this copy and I figured, I could continue to get it for free and hold people up and push it off and not read it. Or I could just buy it for $1, have it on my shelf to remind me to read it, and then donate it back to the library so someone else can buy it in the future and not have to be on a timeline in order to read it all the way through and hold somebody else up by keeping a spot on the holds list. So I bought it and here it is, and I still haven't read it and I would still really like to. That's all I have to say about this. Question 5 is leaping ahead. Name 4 books that you want to read by the next leap year, so within the next 4 years, or name something on your bookish bucket list that you want to complete by the next leap year. I sort of split the difference on these 2 angles of the question, and I picked one book, which is definitely on my bucket list that I do want to read, and that is The Rise of the Creative Class by Richard Florida. I found this book used a couple years ago, and it was compelling to me because it talks about a group of people who have sort of become their own social class, and that group of people, which includes academics and managers and engineers and poets and things like that, but they're a bunch of people who quickly rose as a large group over time within the past couple decades, and they facilitate the work of creative people. And as someone with arts management experience, that definitely appealed to me. But it is a fairly hefty nonfiction book, and this is the revised edition, and I have no idea when I'm going to read this because I read so much for my job. A lot of my work has me doing literature reviews, which is just a lot of reading about this kind of topic. The amount of reading that I do ebbs and flows, and so normally when I am doing a lot of that kind of work, when I go to read something else that I'm not being paid to read, I prefer to read something that isn't directly related to the work I'm already doing, and this certainly is. So finding a time where I'm not overwhelmed by this kind of writing and this kind of research already to pick this up has been really challenging, and I think will be really challenging. Also, I'm just a little bit intimidated by the heft of this. It's got a lot of appendices. It's only about 400 pages, but there are a lot of notes and appendices and charts in the back, and it makes me nervous, and I also live so much in this world already in my head in my work life. So finding time for this is something I would like to do, I guess, before 2024. Question number 6 is Leapfrog. Name a book on your TBR that has green on it. And you know what? I'll do you one better. The whole book is green. It's Shirley Jackson's Let Me Tell You. This is a collection of short stories and essays and other writings by her. I found this a couple years ago. I love this cover, and I love Shirley Jackson, and I know that I need to read this. I just haven't done it, and it's so lovely. It's a really big hardcover book. The pages are doing that thing, and I always forget the name of what this thing is called, but it comes with its own bookmark, which is how you know that it's meant to be picked up and put down. Question number 7 is Bad Luck. what bookish things do you steer clear from? I thought about this question sort of in relation to the videos that I have made over the last 8 years, and realized in going back through some of those that the thing that I steer clear from is basically a whole swath of books that Rebecca likes to read. And we, as if you've watched us for a while, as you know, we have really different taste preferences when it comes to reading, and she is far more interested in reading, you know, about mountaineering accidents and tragedies, or psychologically thrilling, gripping horror stories. Maybe not that one so much, but things with those type of undertones to them. And I thought to myself, that is absolutely something that I stay away from. That is definitely her lane, and I'm not trying to get in it in any possible way. Not because I want to co-opt what she's doing, but because that is in no way exciting to me. For example, I read Gone Girl, I think a number of years ago, probably around the time that the film came out. I know that I was given the version of the book with the movie cover on it. And I read that and I was kind of fine with it at the time. Like, I can read a murder mystery and I'm not totally thrown off by it, but looking back, that's definitely not the type of book that I might pick up today. At least not without like getting myself prepared for it. It's just a shift in the way that I've read. So things like that, I just sort of can't super get into, and so I'd stay away from them. And also just like, I don't want to scare myself. I don't want to feel uncomfortable while I'm reading to that extent. I want to be comfortable with the challenges and the complexities and the mild fear factor of other books. For instance, I'm reading Geek Love right now, and it's bringing up a lot of like Machiavellian, aggressive, like families going after each other kind of things, and they're not traditional, they're definitely not normative, and that's fine with me, but I don't want to spend 250 pages reading about a horrible avalanche on a mountain pass that killed 50 people or something like that. That is not my area of joy. And question 8 is simply to tag 4 friends. However, I'm gonna say if you're interested in doing something like this, obviously the entire year of 2020 is a leap year, so I'm sure you'd be welcome to do this at any time, but today is the leap day, so if you wanted to be timely about it, you're sort of out of time for this. So if you'd like to do this tag, please feel free to go right ahead. It's fun to think about how just having an extra day in the year and why we maintain that practice can play into different ways to think about that idea with the kinds of books that we have on our shelves. I've linked the original creator videos of this tag in the description if you want to check those out. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having lovely weeks and lovely lives. Everything you want to know about us is down below, and we'll see you very soon.